But because I now have a confirmed tornado on the ground, this changes the ball game.
Robb Ellis is here now with a check of our forecast, and it's definitely a night to be out.
It is a nice night, and I like where your head is, thinking about food already. I'm already there with you. Even after we shut this down, blowing snow is going to be your #1 problem for almost everyone, but you still have extreme winds going through at O'Hare. It almost felt a little bit like autumn, but don't get your hopes up just yet if you're maybe looking for the pumpkin spice lattes. No, the summer is coming back, I promise, by this weekend.
Robb Ellis says get ready to go to a different kind of 80s, at least for tomorrow.
I had no idea where you were going with that.
Might see a little bit of rain.
I know, no pressure for this weekend, right? It's a big weekend. Everyone wants to know, okay, is that sunshine coming that we've been promising you? Let me get you there first and show you some of the issues that I've been watching. First of all, it's these very small showers that have been popping up in the late afternoon, and they're kind of carrying over into this evening. And when I say very small, they are. When you see them in the 3D, they're pretty shallow. In fact, our weather watchers have been sending us some pretty interesting pictures as well. Let me take you to the weather watchers, show you that we've got 70s in play, but a lot of nice pictures have been coming in. But I want to take you to this one from Nancy Addy. By the way, beautiful composition on this. Look at this, the very small towering cumulus you have there, the reflection in the lake. A+ for composition there, Nancy. We do have a confirmed and observed tornado that is on the ground with this and heading east. It is sitting right over Woodridge at this point. Left side of your screen is the actual damage. This is where we had seen on radar Woodridge at Crabtree. As I broaden the view a little bit, I showed you this, what we call a couplet. That's 106 mile-per-hour winds that were moving away from the radar and 50 to 60 mile-per-hour winds that were moving to the radar. That happened over a very short span, over the course of a neighborhood. When that happens, it implies a circulation, and that's how we knew exactly where the tornado signature was. We more than likely have a strong tornado on the ground. If that weren't signal enough, here's the other signal. This little bright spot that you see right here. What this indicates to me is that there are a lot of things in the atmosphere. There are a lot of different sizes. When that gets lofted into the air, the radar picks it up. Typically, the radar is bouncing off of things like rain, like hail, and we get a good signature of that. But when it bounces off of stuff like this that's in the atmosphere, it shows up very well defined, and that is moving right into Burlington. So I'm going to get in pretty close, try to give you some street names here, because this is going to move right over Burlington, unfortunately. This is Plank Road.
Let me show you. We're at one house right off of Plank Road.
The heaviest snow totals so far were where this lake effect snow band set up. It meandered a little bit. It enhanced some of the heavy snow that was coming down with the large scale system. We've still seen that continue, and I think we're going to see some numbers that approach 18 to 20 inches.
Here's our chief meteorologist, Robb Ellis.
Yeah, I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, what's happening with the winds and also the timing of when this is going to wrap up. The winds around this storm pile up the water along the coast out ahead of it.
Back to the 70s, Robb Ellis is here with the real-time forecast.
Yeah, we're settling into a very fall-like pattern, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the temperatures just remain cool and steady. It actually means a lot of a roller coaster ride, and that's what we're on. We're going to see that. Temperatures warm up nicely during the day. We'll see 60s, close to 70 for the next couple of days, and they cool down quite a bit at night. We already are starting to lose some of the temperatures from earlier in the day. There's 62 for Wheaton, still some mid to upper 60s for some of you, but I think we're going to see these numbers once we lose the heating of the day, and with the clear skies, we're going to see these numbers drop pretty dramatically. Let's widen the view a little bit just to show you there is still a little bit of cool air in place. Notice to the west, bit of a warm up, and this is what I mean about that typical fall pattern. You have a lot of this warm air that surges north, some cooler air that surges south, and it's that undulation, that ups and downs that moves our way that gives us these temperature swings, and we're going to see that in our forecast. You can really see it in the larger view. Some cooler air settling in across the Rockies, big warm up across the center part of the country, then a cool down for the East Coast. Then you slide all that east, and it means that our temperatures are going to go up and down as well. Good news is we've got clear skies, and that means a lot of sunshine over the next couple of days. That too will help to warm us up. Although the sun angle is not quite as strong as it was as we got into this summer, most of the activity has been to the east when it comes to rain, but that may change for us as we look down the road. So for tonight, cooling back down close to where we were this morning and the previous morning, mid-40s. Still have the dry air in place, but with lighter winds and clear skies, we should be able to have a pretty cool start to tomorrow. But it's going to warm up very quickly. We'll be in the 40s by 8 a.m., but we're going to be in the 60s just 3 hours later, and we're likely going to stay in the upper 60s for most of the afternoon. I think our high temperature is going to end up being right around 70 degrees, depending on where you are. Here's how it looks on Radar Tracker. I'll let it run, not necessarily for what you see, but what you don't see. Clear skies all the way through Monday afternoon. The only difference is once we get into Tuesday, I think a few more high thin clouds may roll in, and that may be a sign that the pattern is about to change. So from pure sunshine on Monday to maybe a few more clouds added to Tuesday, that up and down trend I talked about. Here's the up part of the mountain, and then you cool down into the lower valley of the mountain where you have temperatures going back down into the 50s and 40s, maybe even some 30s overnight. I think we're going to see this pattern last for quite a while. In order to change from those 70s to 50s, you have to bring in a front, and that'll bring us some rain chances late Wednesday into Thursday. Jim?
Did you say 30s?
Potentially, yeah, sometime later this week.
It was bound to happen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob.
You got it.
The radar does become a bit of a jumbled mess, and it's my job to try and make sense of that so you understand what's happening. The tornado warnings are stacking up, and they now number 5 in our viewing area. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. A lot to get to, but let me break down what's happening. This tornado warning is going away, and this tornado warning has been extended. This is the one that's now become the dominant circulation, and I think that's one that I'm going to get a little bit more concerned about as the next 10 or 15 minutes wears on. I still have a concern for the rotation that's rolling closer to Elgin. In fact, moving right through Elgin at the moment. That one is starting to show a pretty textbook signature. This one is showing still some rotation. It has weakened a bit from what it was earlier. I also have the lightning on display here, and that typically, not always, but typically will give you an idea of the strength of the storm. More lightning, typically the storm is strengthening. That may be a concern as this heads closer to Schaumburg, eventually O'Hare, into the northern suburbs. And these are really starting to look more supercellular in nature. They really start to get this, we call it a flying eagle signature, a screaming eagle signature sometime. The feet of the eagle here and then the 2 wings kind of coming off the side of that. Sometimes you get a better textbook display of that. Here's another one here. Sometimes you'll get this little eagle's head that pops out of it. But notice the presentation of these storms, single-celled and staying kind of clustered all by themselves. That to me indicates a strengthening set of cells. They have now lost all of the inhibitions that they had earlier from some of the storminess that was in place.
Weather out here is absolutely beautiful for this evening. Doesn't necessarily feel like the week before Thanksgiving.
Team Backstreet Boys or Team NSYNC?
Oh.
Very important question.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot like this. You know what? I have to do more research to go back and look at all the songs.
Listen to all the songs.
I'd probably, top of my head, I think NSYNC.
Yeah,
but
I was Team
who knows?
NSYNC. But
If you're going to put sunshine icons on the 7-day forecast, that's where you want them, right there on the weekend.
We can just back off that humidity a little bit.
It will come down a bit, but not gone completely.
Yeah, of course, it's August.
Yeah.
Good Wednesday morning. I'm meteorologist Robb Ellis. We're talking about food in the studio, and Anthony's over there munching on something.
Shrimp chicken.
Shrimp chicken? Oh, I was like, what is that? I'm not used to this morning show, so yeah, see, yeah.
Look, why not eat? We got a whole box.
You've got a box of it you didn't share with anybody?
I offered at like 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock in the morning.
Hey, don't, is he judging? You just got here, buddy.
That's not a good idea at all, ever.
You are really dumb, is what I often say in the studio when we see.
That's like Chicago Winter X Games.
Yeah.
Extremely crazy.
That's a Florida man story.
Crack
right
me up.
there.
That's one way to say it.
Winter weather advisory pretty much encompasses everything that's going to be happening tomorrow. The light snow, the freezing rain, the sleet, and there are ice storm warnings just to our south, but I've got some new data that's been coming in real time that suggests that if this period of freezing rain lasts a little bit longer for some of those areas, say near Bourbonnais or Kankakee, it's possible we could see them meet the criteria for an ice storm warning, and we could see that upgraded. Let me show you why I say that, because we're starting to get the information that suggests that maybe this icing is going to last a little bit longer
stronger farther to the south, as the temperatures will struggle just a little bit to overcome that freezing mark and eventually get up into the mid-30s. Maybe starting as a little bit of snow, as I mentioned before. I think we'll see this mix last to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon before it switches to either rain or snow. Then it becomes just kind of a dominant rain-snow system where the rain-snow line eventually moves on through and gives us the accumulation. Speaking of accumulation, here's what we're expecting. When it comes to just snow, this will mainly be the second half of the system that is likely going to leave about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches of snow across most of the city, although areas to the west, McHenry County, DeKalb, Lake County, I think you may see this stay as all snow, or at least a period of heavier snow than others, and that's going to give you a little bit of a higher amount. Farther to the south, because it's going to be falling as mostly freezing rain or some sleet or rain mixed in, I think your icing could be in the 1/10 to maybe 2/10 range. Once you get up to about 1/4 of an inch of ice, that's where it becomes problematic. And some of the new data that's coming in is suggesting that maybe parts of Kankakee County could reach that threshold, maybe even to parts of northwest Indiana. We'll have to keep an eye on these areas, especially in the morning. If new data comes in and continues to suggest that, we may see those ice storm warnings issued, or just maybe moved a little farther to the north. Snowfall, remember, it's the second half of the system that could bring 1 or 2 inches of snow. Some locations may get a little bit more the farther to the north and west you go. All told, I don't think any of those things altogether are going to be problematic, but when you put them all together, I think we're going to have individual locations that have some issues with a little bit of icing, some locations that have a little bit of an issue with some snow on the roads. Once we move that out of here, things improve for Saturday, although a few snow showers certainly possible late in the evening. Sunday looks pretty good, and then looking into the early part of the next week, the first Monday of the year, looks like we'll see temperatures go back into the 40s. But get through Friday, the first day of the year, and the next few look pretty good.
Okay, thank you so much, Rob.